Check it out, it's your boy Debo. You're watching Debo the Don TV. When you have a moment, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment below, and don't forget to hit that notification button.
Hello everyone, my name is Debo. Thank you for tuning in to Debo the Don TV. Debo the Don TV.
Are you listening?
My brother, John Bianco. What's up with you, man?
Doing good, brother.
Yeah, man, pleasure to have you here on Debo the Don TV.
Appreciate you having me, bro.
Yeah, so for the people who don't know who you are, just tell them who you are, where you're from, and what it is that you're known for.
John Bianco, aka John the Painter on Instagram. Born and raised in Miami, moved up to Central Florida back in '91. I'm from the old school era of lowriding out here in Florida, late 80s, early 90s when it was first really coming out. And started out down there in the hip hop scene, doing graffiti, breakdancing, rapping, getting into the cars. And what transitioned me into the paint world was actually doing the graffiti. That's where I learned colors and blending and stuff of that nature. And I took that from illegally going and busting pieces on people's walls to turn it into something positive and painting these lowriders and these custom motorcycles. And it's been a blessing, man. You know, I'm 49 years old now. The streets didn't take me, thank God. But I'm just, you know, life's just been a blessing, man. It's been good to me. And I can't complain. I'm not really doing a whole lot of painting anymore. I might tinker here and there, but I've kind of moved on to some other things. But we'll get into that a little later on in this episode.
Okay, hey man, that was beautiful. So let's just go all the way back.
Okay.
You say you're from Miami. Mm-hmm. Now, Miami's one of those cities where people make very, I would say, they make very generalized ethnic perceptions. If you're black or African American and you're from Miami, most people generally they're gonna associate you with being Haitian or Bahamian.
Right.
Now, if you're non-melanated, they're gonna associate you with being Cuban or Puerto Rican or of some Latin descent. Now, what's your ethnic background?
Half Italian, and the other half is a mix of English, Swedish, German, and Irish. So, well, some people disagree and say that Italian is not Latin, but I'm sorry, Italian is Latin. So half Latin, half white boy.
Okay.
I'm proud of both sides.
Hey,
I love both sides of me. So.
Okay, so you're from Miami. What was Miami like for you growing up in the 80s?
In the 80s, man, it was fun, dude. I mean, shit, you know, I was getting into dumb shit. I was gangbanging and just, you know, being a little off-the-chain teenager. But it was fun, man. It was good times. You know, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have all this shit to occupy our time, man. We had to be out in the streets just finding shit to do, you know. I come from the time when, you know, mom would say or dad would say on a Saturday, get the hell out the house. Don't come back till the lights come on.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't want to know where we were. There was no way for them to find us or contact us when it was, you know, when we were out there in the streets.
Yeah.
Now these kids nowadays, man, they're tied to these right here, and they're tied to their iPods and their computers, and they don't know what you tell, like my kid, and I tell him, man, go out, ride your bike, go have some fun.
Yeah.
We ain't going out there, it's too hot. Man, shit, we didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
We was out.
Now, what neighborhood? Not to cut you off, but what neighborhood did you grow up in?
North Miami.
So North Miami. So for the people who are from Miami, what is the North Miami jurisdiction composed of geographically? What communities that people
North
are
Miami, you have Opelika.
Yeah.
God, I'm trying to think of some of it. It's been so long, man. And even though I grew up in North Miami, I didn't really hang out in North Miami too much.
Okay.
But I did hang out a lot in Opelika, Overtown.
Okay.
Overtown's really not North Miami, but it is and it isn't. But North Miami was really just North Miami.
North Miami. Okay. Well, I'm just trying to get people kind of understanding.
It's hard because, like I said, I didn't spend a lot of time there, man. If I was out, I was in Coconut Grove or I was in Broward County. You know, I didn't.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you were gang banging and you were out, you know, performing graffiti. What were some of the areas that you practice your graffiti skills on?
Mostly in Broward County, but we did a couple of pieces in Miami on the Bakehouse Art Complex, and there was a place called the Penitentiary down there. We called it the Pennant. Okay. And there was a lot of writers used to go there, and that's where we did a lot of stuff down there. But that was a dangerous spot too. I mean, cats would get messed up down there. You know, there was a lot of gang activity in that area.
All right, so you said there was a lot of gang activity. What gangs were around during that time?
So you had Spanish Cobras, Latin Kings, Latin Disciples, Wilo. The clique I was with, TMOD out of Broward County. You had Block Boys. Tutu Ave. You had the Home Team. Those were cats out of Liberty City.
Okay.
And you had quite a few Haitian gangs down there. I can't think of the names of all of them, but obviously you had the Zopound down there.
Yeah.
But didn't really get too mixed up with them. They kind of did their own thing, man.
So this back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Now, okay, so the 80s is the decade of, this is the crack era, but this is also the era of when rap was in its infant stage and it was starting to kind of become widespread around the United States. Yeah. But also to represent the 5 element of rap music, we had the graffiti. You mentioned you were part of a graffiti crew. Mm-hmm. Now, you said your crew was what, TMOD? TMOD. Now, I want to kind of fast forward. Now, you made the transition from doing graffiti. How did you find yourself actually implanted in the car customization culture?
When I moved, I didn't really get into the car customization culture too much until I moved up here.
Yeah.
There was a cat that I used to hang with, a cat named Marty, and he started getting into painting cars.
Okay.
So I wanted to see how that was done.
Yeah.
You know, so I kind of hung around, watched what was going on, and then we started looking through the Lowrider magazine, seeing the old school, what they call the ribbon patterns.
Yeah.
And that was the first kind of patterns I ever laid out. He knew I did graffiti, knew I could design some artwork, and he's like, man, do you think you could do some graphics like this? So I said, well, let's see. I grabbed the tape and I started laying some shit down. Didn't like it at first. It took a few tries, get used to playing with the tape. And the first car I did, I think it was I want to say it was a little like a Ford Festiva or some shit, some kind of little shoebox car.
Yeah.
But we did no, it was a Rabbit, Volkswagen Rabbit. That's what it was.
Okay.
And we did a tangerine candy on it. But I laid out these ribbon patterns, and Marty came in and airbrushed in with a Brandywine the ribbon patterns on it and shot tangerine candy over the whole thing. And that was kind of my start into the world of customizing and doing paint work. He ended up leaving, moving to California, and I had watched enough of what he did that I felt confident that I could do it myself.
Okay.
So my next homeboy hit me up and he's like, man, I want to paint my Cutlass. I said, all right, cool, let's do it. There was a lot, I still had a lot to learn, and there's always room to learn. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years now, and I still learn shit every day.
Yeah.
You know, no painter out there can say, oh, I'm the best. Mm-hmm. There is somebody that's probably the best, but even that person has room to learn. We all have room to learn. But so I went ahead and I did my buddy's Cutlass, and it was my first paint job doing everything by myself. And it wasn't flawless. There was a couple little sags here and there, but all in all, it looked pretty damn good. The funny thing is, here's a funny point. For years, all I did was candies and metal flake and graphics.
Yes. The
first time somebody hit me up to do a factory refinish paint job, I turned them down because I was scared to do it. People were like, why the hell are you scared to do a factory finish? I've never done one. I've started with candies and flakes, and that's all I've done. Old painter told me the best thing you could ever say. He says, you put a base coat down before you shoot your flakes and your candy, right? I said, yeah. He goes, all right, so just eliminate the other 2 steps. Put your base coat down like you're gonna shoot your flake and candy, then clear it. And there's your base coat, clear coat. Simple enough. I tried it, worked out. Still not my favorite thing to do. Still enjoy shooting the flakes and the candies. It's just much more fun.
So you got your car painting education here in Central Florida.
Central Florida, yep.
Now, let's backtrack to Miami. What was your first lowrider encounter? And then also, who were some of the people that that were prevalent during that time period?
Well, during that time period, I honestly couldn't even tell you because I was real young.
Okay.
My first lowrider encounter, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. My dad used to work for the Miami Beach Convention Center, setting up all the shows that they had there, and they had one that comes through every year called the World of Wheels.
Yes.
And he would take me every year. And you know, they got cool. They got the hot rods, and they got the concept cars, and all these fancy cars. The car that always stood out in my mind was owned by a dude named Rolly Fernandez. I don't know if he's still around. I don't even know if he was from Florida or if he just traveled the circuit. But it was a 70, if I remember right, a 77 or 78 Coupe de Ville Cadillac, fully laid out. Chrome undercarriage, full candy paint, graphics, patterns, had the old school swivel seats with all the mirrors and the coffin pleat and biscuit tuck interior, sitting on 13-inch wire wheels, full hydraulic system. That was the car out of everything there that always stuck in my mind. And I said, damn, I want something like that.
Wow. So you just gave the viewers now some East Coast lowrider education, because I would say this current generation, they think like lowrider just came out of space, and then there's also no acknowledgement of the forefathers. So that's why, you know, I asked this question, because it just didn't come from anywhere.
Right.
Like someone actually laid the foundation, and it's just whatever I'm doing is just an extension from what I saw. Just like what you just told me, that's an extension of, you know, from your childhood. So your first lowrider encounter is when you were 7 years old. Now, when did you physically build your first car?
My first car was done in 1990.
1990, and what kind of vehicle did you have?
Now here's where people give me some shit, because they say, oh, it's not a lowrider. At least the cats nowadays tell me it's not a lowrider. Back then it was. It was a 1990 Mazda King Cab.
Okay.
Center gold McLean's, gold fender trim, full hydraulics, stereo, had a Lear topper on it. I mean, it was a nice ride. And back then, that was acceptable. Nowadays, not so much. It seems like it's coming back, but back when I had that truck, no one called it a mini truck.
Yeah.
It was a lowrider.
It was a lowrider.
You know, there was a definition of lowrider truck versus a mini truck. Now these cats today, man, anything. If you got a Honda on 13s and wire wheels and white walls, you got an import. If you got a Mazda or an S10 and it's done a full lowrider style, oh no, that's a mini truck. So we didn't call it that back then.
Yeah.
True old school lowriding, that was a lowrider.
That was a lowrider. Now, you mentioned that you had a full hydraulic setup. Who was responsible for cutting your car?
Anthony Rhodes of Raw.
Anthony Rhodes of Raw. So Anthony, he cut your car, your first lowrider.
Yep.
Okay.
Full cut. I'd actually had it done. The front setup was done right before I moved from Miami to here.
Okay.
And
now
I picked it up.
Who's the person who did it in Miami?
Do not remember their name. I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember their name. What I do remember was the purchase or the setup was bought through Frank at Red's Hydraulics.
Okay.
And the shop that did the installation was out of Broward County. The guy owned a candy gold Aero Coupe Caprice on 15x8 Daytons with low profile tires and full hydraulics. But I can't remember his name. It kills me.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's so damn long ago, I just don't remember.
So you made that transition from Miami to here in Central Florida. What was the lowrider scene like here in Central Florida when you moved here?
In '91, when I moved here, I didn't see a whole lot of lowriders yet in '91.
Yeah.
There was a lot of mini truck clubs up here in '91.
Okay.
I think it was a little bit later, 92, 93, 94, that I started really seeing more lowriders. And like my first real encounter with lowriders up here was probably Boulevard Nights.
Boulevard Nights. Okay.
You know, them cats, man, they impressed me. They were rolling strong. They were rolling out here.
Yeah.
The same way Low Life was rolling in Miami.
Gotcha.
You know, they were on the boulevard every weekend, out there clowning, cruising, hitting switches, just having a blast, man, doing what lowriding is meant to be.
Yes.